Hey friends, welcome to the Table podcasting journey. I'm not really sure what do we type. We're a church plant journey, I think.
Yeah, church plant journey.
Plant journey. We're mixing it up, but we are adding some new features. So if you can see us, if you're actually on our YouTube, which is youtube.com/ it's a whole bunch of characters because we don't have 100 subscribers yet, but you can search us at the Table Naz. We're one of the few links that pops up there. Look for our logo. You'll find it. But it is good to be with you.
I can make that a link. I could do the tablenaz.church/YouTube.
Boom. Do that. The Table Naz.
We'll get it fixed up by the time people listen to this.
Perfect. You're gonna restart. I like that way better.
No, let's just keep going. I mean, we want people to see how the sausage is made, right?
This is definitely how it's made. Speaking of, I'm just kidding. I don't make sausages, but I was watching a TikTok this week. Yes, I know China is in my life. It's fine. Don't worry about it. But this guy showed me how to make beef jerky, and all I need is a Traeger grill. So if anybody wants to donate to the table for me to get a Traeger grill, I'm just kidding. No, it is good to be with you guys. Like I said last time, my name is Pastor Trevor. We are excited about this, and I'm joined with my friend Pastor Ryan. The two of us are planting a church out here in the East Valley of Phoenix, Arizona. And if you guys live here, we'd love for you to be a part of it. If you don't, we'd still love for you to be a part of it in some capacity, whether that's prayer, financial giving, or just hearing your thoughts about what we're doing. We are way open to all of the wonderful ideas that our friends and peers have, because we don't got it all figured out.
No, definitely not.
Well, we wanted to start something kind of new. We thought that it was important, like Ryan said just a moment ago, to show you how the sausage is made. And by doing that, we want to share the good and the bad. And so I want you, Ryan, just let me know, how has your week been? Is it just the best week of your life right now? What's up? What's new?
My week has been okay. It's been like my first normal week in a while. My wife had COVID, and my wife and my kids. So we were shut-ins for a while. We were quarantined away. And so, yeah, that's been pretty good. On Wednesday night, we had our youth Christmas party at my current church. Did the white elephant thing. Of course, nobody steals anything anymore. No. Let me just go on and rant about that. Everybody always wants what's possible in the new bag, and I'm like, no, you guys. I guarantee you something is nicer that's already been opened than what you're going to get in there.
Facts.
But anyway, and then went to another Christmas party, socially distant, mask applied last night, and that was really fun as well. I ended up with some towels.
Nice.
We're gonna have a regifting party in January, so I think
I will not pick what you're bringing then.
Some of those might end up on the regifting side.
You're funny. Oh, that's good.
But good. Other than that, just to let everybody know, kind of, my father-in-law isn't doing very well health-wise, so we're actually getting ready to have my wife and kids move out to Missouri to be closer to him for the next couple of months. And so I've been planning that. I booked a flight, so I'm going to come back in January by myself, watch the dogs, keep the house secured. Yeah. And honestly, we don't know how long they're going to be gone. We're planning on at least a couple months, but we'll see. It's been tough as far as that goes, especially with COVID and especially with his health being the way it is. Like, we're gonna have to quarantine when we get out there, and we're gonna have to wear masks if we want to go see them. And it hasn't been a very fun couple of weeks for us for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Well,
But
I know that our core team has been praying with you guys with that. And for those of you who are listening or maybe tuning in today, please be praying with Ryan and Megan, the whole situation.
yeah, man, how have you been doing?
It's been wild. Not gonna lie, we just had our final youth event. I didn't cry like I thought I was. I actually spent most of the time crying last month when I told the kids that I was going to be leaving the youth group and starting a new church. But yeah, my wife and I, we planned this whole big Christmas event. We had worship Christmas songs. King's Kaleidoscope has a great Christmas album, and we just try to replicate that poorly. But Joel, if you're listening, you killed it, man. I really appreciate you. But yeah, we just had some fun, and it was kind of weird's not the word, but we had our replacements there, the new youth pastors, Andy and Megan, and it was actually really good to have the moment of, hey, it has been so good to have youth group with you guys for 5 years now, but we're not just leaving you high and dry. We have a plan in motion. We're excited for the future, and here is Andy and Megan, who are going to take over. And I think the kids were excited. I know that Rochelle and I both were. It's been our prayer for months now that, they've got a task when you think about it. I know that we're planting a church in COVID, but they're taking over a ministry during COVID. So it's just as hard, I'm sure, on them as it will be for us. But yeah, other than that, it's been crazy. Carson, our son, he's more teeth are coming. He likes to jump, run, and dance. So life is full of music and fun right now. But at the same time, those 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock temper tantrums come. So that's great. But other than that, I think the one word that I have used over and over and over again, I actually just had a friend reach out to me this afternoon and ask me how I was doing, and peace. I have peace within all of life and its uncertainties and wherever we're going. God has granted me peace through it all. So
it's awesome, man.
I'm good.
Yeah, just so you know, those temper tantrums don't really go away.
I know. I still throw them for my wife. Last night, she's like, "We're mopping the house," and I'm like, "No, we're not mopping the house right now. I just want to lay down. I've had a hard day. You don't understand."
Well,
I love my wife.
I wasn't
If you can hear me,
speaking for
Rochelle,
you.
I love you.
I wasn't speaking for you, but my kids are. Well, Paisley's going to be 4 in a couple of weeks, so they're both 4 years old essentially, and yeah, I feel like the temper tantrums just get more violent.
Yeah, I'm sure.
There's more hitting and gnashing of teeth. But yeah, it's been good. I mean, 2020 has been a tough year, I think, for anybody. But I think for people in ministry, it's been really hard.
Yeah.
I was talking with Joel from our core team last weekend, and I was telling him about how I feel like the decisions being made in ministry these days, like there is no right answer.
Yeah.
There's always like, well, this one is going to like piss off the least amount of people.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you open campus? Do you not open it? Do you make mandatory masks?
Yeah.
I know that Maricopa, it's like, well, technically churches are exempt from the mask order. Like, why do we have to wear a mask? Yeah, it's been, I do not envy my senior pastor at all. John has really, he's been awesome during this time. I'm really thankful for his leadership right now. So,
yeah. And for us, as we prepare to plant, that's kind of been my biggest fear. Actually, I was having a conversation last night with Dave and Todd at the Christmas party. For those, if you don't know who that is, don't worry about it. But
great guys.
I was telling them, like, actually, like, as far as planning the church, like finances, I feel like we're doing really well on. We've been able to get some investments, get some people who have been investing in the vision, and our district has supported us. And so like financially, like where like I think most people struggle with church planning is probably my least concern right now.
Yeah.
And my biggest concern is like is anybody going to show up?
Amen. I feel that. Same. I'm literally in the same boat. Like to find the goal that we're trying to achieve and being just about halfway there already. And we're not even technically hard launching till August. Yeah, finances are the least of my worries, but trying to fill multiple house churches at the same time, not only with like the people side, like people will come, right?
Yeah.
I just think that's going to be the easier part of things, but like leaders, people who are going to step up and be our house pastors, be our potential just home leaders that offer up their space or worship. I mean, the whole wazoo. Though I will say I had one like absolutely amazing, like God's always in control. God's sovereign here, but like I show up to work a little bit late. Maybe it was Carson's fault. Maybe it was mine. I'm not going to let you know. You decide. But I show up to work a little bit late and I run into our preschool director and she was like, "Oh, perfect timing. Here, Trevor, come talk with this new staff member." It's literally her second day on the job. And already our co-director is talking to this new staff member about the church plant. And she's like, one of the core team members is on staff here. You can talk with him. And as she's saying that, I walk in and she's like, "This is the guy you want to talk to. He's one of the co-pastors." So I got to meet with this young lady and she was stoked. She's like, "Yeah, I want to come be a part of something. Like, let me know whether it's greeting, youth, like put me to work." And I'm like,
Nice.
"Oh, you opened that can of worms. You said it. I'm going to do it."
Yeah, that's great. Those of you who are listening or watching, like Trevor texted our group about this lady and it was sounded awesome, but like hearing the story, it just sounds even cooler.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I was gonna say, let's not let this opportunity go to waste. If you're out there and you're thinking you this sounds like something you'd be interested in, we're looking for people to be a part of our team, and we're looking to get leaders and people who want to volunteer and serve and maybe even pastor a house church. Give us a call. Yep. Oh yeah, we have a phone number now.
We do have a phone number. Do you remember that off the top of your head? Because I definitely don't.
No, but it's on a sticky note on my desk.
Let's see. I'm scrolling. I'll see who wins here. I know it starts with 480. There you go.
788-3525.
Say that one more time.
480-788-3525.
You can call that number or you can go to thetablenaz.church/support. Those are kind of the two best ways that you can get connected. And if being a part of this new ministry sounds exciting, interesting, or absolutely terrifying, get connected with us. We'd love to just talk. We'd love to take you out to coffee and pick your brain and see what it looks like to join the team of a house church network. With that being said, Ryan,
I was gonna say segue.
Right? Like it was in the back of my brain. I'm doing it. We're just going right to the next one. Why in the world did you want to start a house church? Not just like a house church, like one, but like a house church network. Like why in the world? What in the world were you thinking?
Yeah. Well, first of all, let's just say I think we both felt God called us to this.
Yeah.
Let's put that on the table. But second of all, I think it just we talked a little bit last week about the initial meeting that you and I had at the Panera Bread, talking about where we were just kind of sharing notes, and God was really kind of revealing that we had a lot of the same ideas. Yeah. And one of those ideas was we wanted a place where people could come and be intimate. Intimate in the idea of like they could feel free to be themselves, whether that's the good or the bad. And I like it or not, like I'm just as guilty of this as anybody else, but like I feel like a lot of times in the church, especially in America, like the question is like, how are you doing? Oh, I'm fine. We wanted a place where people felt comfortable to not give the I'm fine answer. Yeah. Whether that was, oh, I'm doing great, like this, God's really blessed me this week, or like I was sharing earlier, like, like this has been a crappy month for us. And just to be able to have that place where we can come and share that be that open with each other.
Yeah.
What about you?
I was thinking about it this last week, and if you're grown up in the church, you've been a part of youth groups for a time, everybody knows like the camp moments, right? And so I love camp. In fact, I actually ran our camp for a few years here in Arizona. It's where I met my wife. Like, camp is a part of me. Like, I will always do camp. Well, at camp, you have these big, awesome moments where you come together in the big group, 200, 300, 400 people, and you're praising, you're worshiping, the speaker's got you hit, and you're crying down at the altar. And that's great, right? Like, it's an awesome experience. Everybody's got those memories if you've grown up in the church. Well, my favorite part of Arizona camps that we've done since I've been there, if not, I mean, I'm sure 20, 30 years now, is called family time. And so you take these big, large moments in the sanctuary and the tabernacle, and you're rocking and you're just jamming with all of these people. And we do that for like an hour, 2 hours, but intentionally after every single service for at least for the last 15 years that I've been a part of camp, we do this thing called family time where we intentionally send groups away from the hyped up mountaintop, over the top emotional experience. And you go with your small, intimate group. And I remember so many big, impactful moments. In fact, a friend of mine, John Runyon, he said something on Tuesday night that still to this day resonates with me as a 28-year-old adult. Like, 12 years later, we're sitting there, it's Tuesday. He played the little guitar. We're all talking, praying with each other. And like at the end of his song, he goes, and it's only Tuesday. And like the whole week, or I guess it was like the rest of that night, we just kept saying it. But then every single year after that at camp, every Tuesday would come and we would say that over and over again. It's only Tuesday. It's only Tuesday. Because we were so excited. And I mean, we got to spend those deep, intimate moments. And I love the big moments of camp. I love going to service. I love doing all those things, but even more so, I love what happens when you pull away from that in the deep, small, intimate communities when you have like 10 guys and you're going through and you're saying, hey, tonight's service is really good. I was convicted about this. What about you? And for students, adults to just share those moments and say, yeah, I'm with you. Mm-hmm. You can't do that in the big moments. You can't do that when it's 110 decibels in there and you're standing next to like the two, 15-year-old girls who are just crying because their dog Spot died earlier that year. I mean, totally valid prayer requests. I get it, but can you really get deep and intimate when that's going on right next to you? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the question you have to ask.
Yeah. That's so funny. I just talked to John yesterday.
Oh, that's great. I love John. John, I hope you listen to this.
I was asking him to come lead some worship for us, but he's gonna be on vacation.
Taking time off. What's that?
But actually, that's funny. But yeah, that whole idea of like, how do we provide those authentic moments, I think was really at the heart of where we started kind of thinking about like, what if we concentrate on smaller instead of bigger? Every church, every pastor, I mean, if you're a pastor out there and you're telling me like, I don't care how many people show up to my church on Sunday, like, I don't know, I'm not saying you're a liar. Maybe you're just holier than me, but I feel like that part of you is a liar. And even now, like we're trying to do these smaller gatherings. Like I'm thinking to myself, like, well, what if only like 5 people come, Right. And so there's something inherent, and actually that I preached on this a couple of weeks ago. I was like, there's something inherently unhealthy about being a pastor, something that you stand up, you feel a need to stand up in front of people and talk and to say it's coming from God. Yeah. Like, I think so much of us, like we need that, like for our ego, but I think if we're honest, we would say that we want those more intimate times to be more important.
Yeah.
And that kind of brings me to our next point I put on there is discipleship. a lot of times, once again in the church, like we say, like, oh yeah, we want people to be disciple. We want, we want you to be in small groups. We want you to do this, blah, 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 blah. But a lot of times there just isn't like any follow-up to that.
Mm.
It's just, hey, everybody should be discipled. And there's no real like acting it out or showing people what discipleship looks like, or kind of telling them like, hey, these are the expectations. I think that's one of the things that God's really been teaching me over the last couple of years, is that like we get disappointed when people don't meet the expectations, but we don't really take the time to explain to them what the expectations are.
Yeah.
And that comes with discipleship as well. So one of our values is that we of the table that we're going to be planting is we want everybody to be discipled. If you're a part of one of our gatherings, we want you meeting with somebody regularly who's discipling you, and you discipling somebody else who, kind of these one-on-one conversations, and with the idea that, you grow more intimate with God, you grow more intimate with Jesus, but also that's lived out in your daily walk. Like you're serving, people know by your actions that you're being discipled.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, is Joel and I were talking this week. If Joel's on our core team, but he's also currently my worship leader for our youth group, and we both said, like, oh man, we really want a lot of kids to show up on this last Wednesday. Like, we want to have a rock and worship service. We're going to play this awesome game and have just a bunch of fun together. But then we talked afterwards, everybody had left and we went down to the cars and we were just talking. And what we said to each other was, it's funny how we both want numbers. We both want this excitement of like 20 kids, 30 kids. But the best moments in youth group that we've had was when there was 3, was when there was 5. And I got to talk with some of these students, and there was no distraction. There wasn't the funny kid that was trying to goof off. There wasn't, no one was too cool or too lame. Everybody was on the same playing field. We came together. I didn't preach on those nights. I read the room. I said, all right, no need for me to stand up in here and talk to 3 kids for 30 minutes. So I sat down and we made a circle, or a lot of times we would like hop in the church bus and go to McDonald's and we'd grab ice cream.
Those are ice cream nights. Yeah.
Greatest nights. But you would sit there and then you would ask these deep questions like, how are you doing? And then you would you'd get the, no, I'm good. And you're like, no, I understand. Like, it's cool. You're here. You're good. But like, how are you doing? And some of those moments were like huge, because we were able to find some of the deepest moments of connection when there wasn't the numbers that we wanted, that I expected or really wanted to succeed with. But, in this house church model of discipleship, I find this level of excitement and fear, because I think it's going to be really easy to grow. Like, we're going to hit that stride of hitting 15, 20, and 30. But like, those are our max numbers that we're looking at right now, which means that I have a huge responsibility to disciple every single person that comes into my home, to know who Christ is, not just so they can know about it, but so that they can then teach it. And so when we hit that number of 20, that we're already looking at that couple there, that wonderful person there, they're going to be the ones that are going to step up and take this next house church. They're going to be my leaders that I can trust. And then we'll split. And I was at 25 for 3 weeks, but now I'm back to 7.
Well, and first of all, we multiply. We don't.
That's right.
We don't split.
That's sorry. I got to change my words here. Give me my thesaurus.
Yeah, I think this is a good time to talk about like what a house church network is. I think a lot of people, they can understand what a house church is. You do church at somebody's house as opposed to the traditional building. But what you want to take some time to explain kind of what the network idea is?
Yeah. So kind of in our mindset is this idea of creating this interconnected network of house churches and people. You look at some of our churches around the world, I mean, every single Sunday, hundreds of thousands of people in just North America alone are showing up to hundreds and if not thousands of different buildings to do the same thing. We're all singing a couple songs, whether it's contemporary or not, whether the lights are on or off, whether there's a fog machine or not. Like, they're all doing the same thing. Then there's a sermon from a guy who, like you were saying, Ryan, who is trying to communicate the word of God to people. And then you pass the offering plates and then you go. And one of the things that I think a house church network does that is exactly all of that, but different, is that, like you said, you're meeting in a home with the intention of small group numbers. This idea that every person that walks into my door will be known. Whether it's your first time or your 100th time, we're going to get to know you because we're going to break bread together. We're going to share a meal. Like, what a better icebreaker than to say, come into my house and have a free dinner. If you guys don't know, Ryan smokes amazing meats. So whenever Ryan's going to be at a house, like, make sure he's doing the main course, show up there. But
BBQ are my 3 favorite letters of the English language.
Amen. So I went to school in Kansas. But from those moments, you then get to share these intimate times with your small community of worship, a smaller sermon, and then discussing that. And like, that's the core of one of the churches, but now think of that on a level of 3, 5, 10, 15, all doing it simultaneously. That we all come together in our smaller, intimate environments, but we're all on the same page. One of the goals and hopes for Ryan and I is to have house church pastors at each of our locations, someone that can kind of take the shepherding role, can do the preaching and the teaching. And the way that we want to try to connect everybody is by Ryan and I coming together with our house church pastors and saying, hey, we're going through Acts chapter 5 today. Here's where I'm getting some of my excitement, but this is where my house church is. We're really struggling in this area. But I know that yours, who meets in Gold Canyon, doesn't have the same issues. But Acts chapter 5 is still very important to your group. And so being able to take the same concepts, the same verses, but then apply them within the community that you're in is huge. And then another part of our house church network is then to come together. Because if we just made a bunch of different house churches and had 30 running all at the same time, but no one knew each other, how would you create the environment to do that? And so our idea is, we have a couple different, but the biggest one is Fourth Sundays. Fourth Sundays is the time when each of the house churches comes together. In fact, it might be what I've kind of been told as a cold event, whereas it's this event that you can invite anybody to because it's the typical church experience. All of the house churches come and meet at one location, whether that's the AMC around the corner from my house, Skyline Park because it's outdoors and we can socially distant, or even utilizing a local school or YMCA to come together and meet as all of the house churches, to intermix together as the community, the church. That it's not just who meets in my living room. And it's not just who breaks bread with me, but I want to get to know the people at that church, and I want to experience things with them. And then we'll push people out of their comfort zones. And we're going to ask people to do things that we call dinner for 6, where 6 people come together and have dinner. Simple. That's either 3 couples or 6 individuals who want to meet one another and see that we are on the same page, you know?
Math is hard. Can you say that again?
What did I
3
say?
couples?
3 couples is 6 people or 6 individuals? What did I say? Say 6 couples?
No. I just was making a joke that I struggle with math.
Me, I do. Yeah. I had to memorize that. Like, I had to memorize that because I can't do math top of my head. But that's kind of like the central theme and idea of what the table, a house church network, is going to look like.
Yeah.
And honestly, we're just kind of copy pasting, like Control C, Control V, what the district of the Church of the Nazarene in Arizona already does. In some capacity, because on our district, the Nazarene Church, there are 65 different Nazarene churches who reside in the state of Arizona, Southern Nevada, Bard, California, and that one place in Utah. And we all come together at district assembly. We all come together at camp and camp meeting. And there are moments when the large church comes together, and we're basically just doing that more often and in a smaller capacity. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, the table is just church.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, actually, I think that's one of the things that I've been learning over the last year during the COVID pandemic. Even though we came up with this idea before COVID was ever a thing, I found myself, uh, especially in March and April, being like, "Oh, I'm going to the church,"
Mm,
or "I'm going to be at the church,"
mm,
or "We're going to church this morning." And it's like, no, 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 no. We say that the church isn't a building, but we always call the church the building.
mm, mhm.
and we're taking this idea seriously. Is we're what I think a lot of pastors and a lot of people have been saying is like, you know, the church isn't the building, the church is the people.
Yep.
And in reality, when we have no building, we have to take that seriously. We have to
100%.
take that idea seriously,
Yeah.
that the church is made up of human beings and not brick and mortar.
Yep.
Just to kind of let people in on this idea, kind of where we got this idea. I first heard about a house church network from Francis Chan. He wrote a book called Letters to the Church. Came out a couple years ago, where he kind of started this idea. He was pastoring a mega church in Simi Valley in Southern California, you know, a really well-off community. And he just kind of just came to this realization of like, what am I doing? Like, all these people drive to this building to hear me talk. Like, I'm not that special.
Mm,
And he kind of just like, it's like, well, what does the church look like in the Bible? And
mm.
he just really started diving in and saying like, people met in each other's homes, people shared and cared for each other, people, you know, loved each other and, you know, suffered from one another. And what if we actually did that? And he started this, it's called We Are Church. It's still going in San Francisco. If you're interested, you can go to these things called church intensives, where you can go out there for a week and kind of follow them around and see how they do church in that model. I was lucky enough that they did one here in the Valley in Tempe last November, and I went to it, and it was the first time I had really kind of paid attention to this house church network idea. And it's actually pretty cool because like I've started connecting with some people I met at that gathering. There's this idea is taking off worldwide in a
Yeah.
lot of ways. But that's kind of where we got the idea for it. And honestly, like we keep getting asked this. I know Trevor is in the same boat with me, but like people are like, well, who else is doing this? I'm like,
Yeah.
well, we kind of took some ideas from this church, and then we talked to this other pastor who's doing house church a little different, and we kind of took some of their ideas, and then we found this like website of this church in DC that's doing something similar but not quite the same thing. And so in reality, we kind of hodgepodged it all together, and we're doing our own thing.
Yeah.
So
Well, so what's funny is earlier this week, Ryan, I was kind of thinking about this house church model, just to better explain it to people. How do we go about when someone's like, well, why do this when there's already so many churches? Like, why plant one more church? So, you know, I'm by no means, I just want to like asterisk this. Like, I'm ordained, which I am so thankful for. And I went through a lot of education, but I am not like this high up PhD theologian. So I might be totally wrong in saying this, but I'm just going to say it and we'll put it out there into outer space or the internet. And you can DM me. Tell me I'm wrong. It's fine.
it's the internet. You'll get comments.
I
Don't
will.
worry.
It happens. It's fine. But when you think about it, the temple was made in the Old Testament, right? Because like church is like nothing new. Like it's not a 21st century model. The temple was a thing when, you know, the Holy of Holies, you look at how the temple was constructed. There was this building and it kept God's essence in the middle, and it killed people if you went too close and you weren't holy enough, you know? And then it evolved, and into the New Testament, you had this moment, you know, when Jesus is there and there's still the temple. Then Jesus comes, he dies, he resurrects, and he ascends, and there's still the temple throughout this whole thing. But in Acts, you start to see this house church movement of people meeting within the homes, and yet they still went to the temple because that was heritage, that was community, that's where things happened. And now 2,000 years later from then, we still build buildings, and we still have this. If you look at my physical church, I've got this really large building that we work in, and it's great. And then within like the center of it is like our sanctuary, the holy place, right? But now we're coming away from this idea of this place that God resides, like you were saying, the brick and mortar, Ryan, that you don't have to show up on a Sunday morning and sit in a pew in a place that's been preached over and had weddings in, and you know, all of this stuff for God to move. It's that this idea, pastors have been saying it all through COVID. We are the church. It is not about the building. We can do church in so many more ways online, but like what if we took it like super seriously and we're not having church. We are church. We're not waiting to see the Holy of Holies to feel the presence of God, but we are, when two or more are gathered, right? That's what we read in Scripture.
Yeah.
So when we come together and we open up our doors, our hearts, our minds, our spirit, and say, God, come, invade this place, invade my heart. I mean, I'm not against the temple, man. I really like some really cool churches. There's some cool churches you go to. Mariners Church in California. I don't know if you've ever been there.
No.
That place is awesome.
I've heard good things.
It's great. They've got a lake on their campus.
Who was I telling? I was talking to somebody recently. I don't remember who it was. And I was just talking about how, like, hey, yeah, we're just trying to think outside the box. We're trying to do things differently. And I was like, but part of me is like, because I've grown up in the traditional kind of American evangelical church environment, like part of me like kind of looks at that like, yeah, you know, building, pews, worship band, like it's kind of my safety blanket, you know?
Yeah.
So part of me like thinks like, that wouldn't be that bad, you know?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, just to kind of let everybody else in, I think we're getting pretty close to wrapping up, but we've been meeting monthly over the last this whole year, actually. I think we started in January.
An entire year.
Our core team are a group of 5 couples. And we had a meeting a couple months ago where we didn't really like accomplish a lot. Like we ate food and we talked and we shared, and people like really just opened up and just like were vulnerable, and nothing was solved. There was no solutions. There was just a lot of just like, I get it.
Yeah.
Like we're with you.
Yeah.
Like we can do this. Like you can do this. Like that sucks. Like, and now I think that was probably my favorite meeting we've had. Like, I mean,
mm-hmm.
none of our agenda items got touched on. Our babysitters took the kids to the park, and one of the kids went away. There's just a bunch of things that happened, and it was one of those. It did not go according to plan, but at the same time, like I felt like, oh, like this is what it means for us to be the body.
Yep.
To come together and to lament and to worship through, you know, sharing our lives together. And I think that's one of the things that I really look forward to us getting to share on a regular basis in smaller and more intimate gatherings.
For sure. Well, guys, I'm excited for the future and what we have for the table. And this is, what's funny is we've really been going at this for just over a year now with our core team, but we are still developing and growing and experimenting, and I'm excited to share those things. We just want to continue to be open and honest with you guys. We're going to share some of the hard things that we've encountered. COVID is rough. What's great is like this model seems to like work in COVID because we already have like smaller numbers and we can socially distant, but you know, God has this. No matter what we think needs to happen, no matter what we want, again, back to that numbers thing, when we, you know, presented our idea, we had some numbers in mind that we wanted to hit. And even if we don't hit those this next year, like God's got this. And so I'm excited to share all of this with you guys, to just open up this whole idea of what it looks like to do church in the 21st century in the midst of a pandemic, while trying to kind of get back to some of these solid roots that we read in Scripture and found in Acts and through all of the New Testament. And so, guys, I'm thankful that you're able to sit here and listen to us for a minute. Sometimes we rant and sometimes we think we're funnier than we really are, but I really appreciate each of you that are here and spending some time with us.
Yeah, thanks for coming along with the journey. We'll be back next week, hopefully.
That's the Pope.
It's 2020. Who knows?
I know, and it's like Advent, so but yeah, hopefully.
We just kind of want to walk you guys through what church planning is looking like for us, the kind of the steps we took. Trevor and I, we've been talking about like, well, what are we going to talk about? It's like, well, let's just talk about what it means for us to plan. Like we started with an idea, and then what did we do next? And then what happened next? And so we'll be going, eventually maybe we'll catch up to where we are now, because we're kind of talking about stuff that we've done in the past, but I'm excited. I think God has placed us on our hearts for a reason. I think this is where we're supposed to be. So.
Yep, 100%. If you guys want to get involved, again, like we said, you can check us out with that phone number we said at the beginning. It starts with 480. I don't remember the rest.
788-3525.
There you go. 480-788-3525. 3525. There you go. Boom. Or you can find us at thetablenaz.church/support. Those are the two best ways to get connected. But one of the other things that you can do, if you want to have a conversation with us, shoot us a message on our Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We'd love to read that. I'll actually keep an eye on it this next week. If any of you listen to the podcast and message us there, maybe we'll spend a bit of the time kind of answering some of those questions or comments or even concerns. Or if you have the Anchor app, which we're recording on right now, you can submit an audio question that we can listen to and respond to you directly. So there's many ways that you can get involved and be a part of the table. And we just want to connect and share these moments with you.
Awesome. Well, all right, I think Zoom's going to cut us off. So.
Oh, Zoom, you can't do that to us. Well, friends, thank you for joining us again. My name is Pastor Trevor. Don't call me Pastor, just call me Trevor. I'm not going to lie. The pastor title is still weird. And I'm joined with my friend here, Ryan. Thank you guys for seeing us if you're on YouTube or listening to us on any of the podcasting platforms. We'll see you next time.
All right. Bye, guys.